Welcome, everybody, to another trip down the donut hole. And today, we finally got some exercise.
Oh, my goodness. I have felt so stiff. I was getting up off a chair the other day, and I realized that
You were a geezer.
I really felt it, Dave. I really did, because I don't like to have a day go by that we don't walk or go do something. And I've been taking it real easy since I got sick, because I really did. That lasted longer than I thought. And I'm still not 100%, but I decided today was the cutoff. Plus, I had chores I needed to do. I needed to pick up a few things from the shop, and there was no putting it off. I was thinking about waiting until this evening when it would be a little cooler walking, but I can't do that because I'm tired at the end of the day, and it's so much easier to make an excuse for why you don't do it. You know, for me, I've just finished cooking supper. We ate supper, and I'm nice and full, and then I have dishes to do, and so I can talk myself out of taking a walk really easily in the evening, less so in the morning.
We're always glad we did, though.
We are.
That's our mantra.
It is our mantra. We always say we never really feel like it, but we're always glad we did. After we get back and you sit down, you pour yourself a nice cold glass of water and just relax a little bit. You feel better. You just feel better. The exercise is so important. And if you are going to do just one thing for your health, my advice, take a little walk, you know?
Or a big one.
Or a big one, but work up to that.
Work your way up.
Yep. Don't do it all at once, because if you get yourself all lame and sore and that, you may be disinclined to do it again in a day or two. And if you can do it, even a short walk every day, the fresh air helps you. It makes things seem less dire because you're out in the big world all of a sudden.
There's a lot of science behind this idea of burst exercising.
What's that?
You just start from nothing and go as hard as you can for, a very short period of time. And
a minute, or what are we talking here?
Until it's uncomfortable. But yeah, you can do as little as a minute or something. You just go real hard, and then you can stop. And you do a bunch of short bursts like that, and it shows that there's a big benefit.
Oh, yeah. I used to seek out places that had a little bit of an incline when I was looking for places to walk. And so I would
No worry about that around here.
No, here it's very hilly. You figure on that. Downhill going to the shop, and uphill fully laden coming back. So it is kind of a mental deterrent to wanting to do that, especially if you're carrying jugs of water or something like that, like we have to.
It's weird because going down sometimes, especially after this length of time that we haven't really exercised that hard, you think, I don't know if I can even go downhill and walk into town. But ironically, on the way back, you're fine pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think it's just sort of the, warming up, the loosening up exercise.
Yeah, and getting your head in the game. If you sit around and you think, oh gosh, that's 1.5 miles one way, and then heavy stuff to carry it the 1.5 miles back up, you sit there and your mind kind of says, you can't do that. You haven't been feeling good. You don't want to do that. That's going to hurt and feel horrible.
Mindset is everything. There's no question about it.
I'm kind of thinking about something, Dave. You just said that burst exercising, you like go for a minute or 2 minutes or something like that. And how many times have we said that even if you just sit down, quiet your brain, govern your breathing for a minute or two, that has huge benefits too. So think about it. If you did 2-minute sessions of burst exercise, like really move, like run in place or something. You did that twice a day for a total of 4 minutes. How about my math skills there, guys? And you also did 2 little meditative sessions of 2 minutes where you quiet your mind, you tell that voice in your head to get quiet for a few minutes, and then you just focus on listening to all the sounds that are present around you, being fully aware of where you are in time and space, and a feeling that you're missing out when you're running your rat race and you're not paying attention to this. So
Absolutely. And in terms of the exercise of any kind, of course, it's best to consult your health care provider before you engage in any exercise regimen.
right. But I do think that maybe getting out of your chair and standing up, even if you're just if you're watching TV, stand up and watch TV for
Any
a few
movement,
minutes.
that's true. That's why Tai Chi and such things like that are very helpful, and it's very low impact, and doesn't tend to wear you out or get you out of breath or anything.
No. And they have a lot of little exercises designed now for people to use the things that they have around their house. Those tallish cans of like baked beans. If you have 2 of those, they suggest that people flex their arms, hold a can in each hand.
Do you use it before or after you ate the beans?
I am not even going to dignify that with a response. You see how he is. I hope he's starting to really reveal the real person behind the microphone.
You'll say, "Oh, look at him! I'm lifting these heavy cans of beans, and they're empty."
Oh my goodness!
You got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. Let's start with them empty, and then next time, next time, do your exercises with the cans before you eat the beans. How about that?
Till you work your way completely up to fully beaned.
I'm going to bean you. That's
no.
what's going to happen. No, where they just hold a can in each hand and then they flex, raise their hand from down on their lap up to their shoulders and then back down. You can do that sitting in your chair. And even if it's hard for you to get up.
What else works is the little bottles of water. They kind of have a hand grip on them, some of them.
Yeah.
And they're a little easier to get a hold of.
Even just that. And if you start out, you say, okay, I'm going to do 6 reps of this. You do it 6 times.
Oh, you even have the lingo going.
Yeah, doesn't that sound good? My daughter is a physical fitness trainer, and I listen to her. But anyway, 6 repetitions, guys. That was insider talk for repetitions.
Yeah, you think you're so cool.
Yeah, well, it is cool. If you, let's say you're recovering from something, let's say that you battle an ongoing illness or you're dealing with chronic pain, even just something as simple as 6 reps of lifting your water bottle or lifting a couple cans of baked beans, the tall ones, not the little ones. The tall ones are the ones that are going to give you a little more resistance. That's going to help you. It doesn't sound like much maybe when you think about it with your head, but it is beneficial. And so you do that a few times. Today is 6, and tomorrow 6. Maybe the whole week is 6 repetitions of that. I would say if you can do it twice a day, that's kind of good. That's a dozen. And then next week, you maybe double it.
Yeah. And if your doctor says it's safe, then you can get up to the point where you're bursting your beans.
Doing it like real fast, but just be careful.
That could be misinterpreted.
Hit yourself in the face or something like that. I could picture that happening to me in some sort of a tizzy trying to do.
Come on, let's burst those beans.
Beanings. I don't even know what to say anymore.
What? That's a first.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice. Anyway, so even that. So let's say you did 2 minutes of your burst exercises, whatever that turns out to be, whether you're running in place for 2 minutes and you do that twice a day. That's, so little time. That's a total of 8 minutes out of your 24-hour day. And that will have great health benefits for you, both physically and mentally. And that is not a lot. Come on. 8 minutes, I think all of us can muster that.
Yeah, and we're no superstars of exercise,
No,
don't get us wrong. I mean, we often do not practice what we preach.
Oh, no, that's right. But I think it comes down to saying to yourself, I am going to take a little walk. If you have health problems, serious health problems or mobility problems, something like that, maybe if you could get a neighbor or one of your kids or a friend or somebody to walk with you, or take your phone with you when you go and talk on the phone while you're going so that if you run into any problems, somebody will know about it. We always take like a little walking stick because unfortunately, not every dog owner is conscientious about making sure that their beast is tied up. And that has been an issue more than once, hasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, not here, though. They're all cool. They're all chill.
Yeah, but back in the States.
Not so.
Back in the States, you were bitten, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let that deter you. But it's nice to take a little walking stick with you, and then, you can make use of that while you're hollering for help or something if you encounter a thing like that. I say it because it is something to think about, and it also helps steady you if you have to walk around some kid's tricycle on the sidewalk or, some little thing that isn't really a problem, but it might be an issue if you have balance problems. So
yeah, exactly.
So
and even walking in the city where it's flat sidewalks and all that, sadly, in the U.S. especially, you have to be concerned about petty crime and all that. And I use a hiking stick. It's not a walking stick per se, but I do think that there's some manner of deterrent with having something that could be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
Because say some of these people,
nobody wants to take extra chances.
Yeah. Some of these people, don't want to encounter any resistance. Obviously, they're going to look for somebody who looks the most vulnerable and has no ability to resist them. And if you got a stick, they're probably going to pick somebody else.
Right. And again, with a doggy or something like that that's kind of not very well behaved, it just gives you a little bit more confidence. Now, I will say also, the walking stick idea is really beneficial when you're walking on sidewalks that are cracked or uneven or have hunks out of them. It kind of helps, especially if you're walking, let's say, in the evening. I prefer walks in the morning when it's brighter reliably and it's going to stay brighter, because sometimes you get walking, especially in the evening, and you're just feeling really good, and you decide that you're going to walk farther maybe, and then the light drops, and then your way back is not as well lit and well defined as it was when you first started walking. And
one time, you recall this, we were at home actually, and it's it's a walk. It's a pretty short walk, to be honest, to the mailbox.
Right.
And I started out without my walking stick, and I almost didn't take it that time. I thought, you better have it with you for some of those reasons we just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hadn't, I probably would have been ripped to shreds by a dog.
Yeah.
Now, he came out of nowhere, and he was not that big either. Sort of a medium-sized dog, so some sort of beagle mix or something. But he was like literally rabid, I think.
I know.
Because he was hell-bent to chew my leg off.
Oh, I know.
And if I didn't have that, I would have been bitten badly.
I wasn't with you.
No, that's right.
You were on your own that time. And yeah, it is a good idea. It balances you. Also, sometimes.
Well, even so, I mean, even if it had been the both of us and neither one of us had a walking stick, then it would have been a bad outcome. Maybe both of us would have gotten bit.
Oh, I think highly likely. Highly likely. So that's an important thing to have in your kit. Always a thing of water if you can. And Dave keps a headlamp. I forget mine all the time, so I rely on him.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with fashion.
Just in the daylight, I don't have it. But if there's any doubt about getting back before dusk or whatever, then yeah, carry it. And it's lightweight; it's no problem.
Yeah, and his is one of those ones that you just wear and it rests on your forehead. And I can't tell you how many times that has been fantastic for us. Sometimes if we go to a concert or something like that, on your way out, you're traversing parking lots that are dark. Even coming out of a store. Let's say you decided you were going to walk in the mall, which is a great idea, really. If you can discipline yourself so you're not spending money that you don't need to spend.
Yeah, I don't like that. The floors are too hard.
Oh, whine. Every time you get a man in the store, there's trouble. Crying. The same guys can hike forever and hunt and climb down embankments to go fishing, but it's the mall that gives them trouble.
That's true. I mean, it seems like the floors in a mall or some stores are harder than a rocky trail.
Oh, I think you're just micro-focusing on that because there isn't as much that you can distract yourself with as there is when you're out in the great outdoors. And, malls can be dark. Let's face it, the interior lighting, I think these days, places like that are looking to cut costs as much as they can. And so some of them are using lower wattage lighting. Some of them have switched to new types of lighting, which might not be as effective, illuminating big areas where you're walking. But there is advantage to walking in a mall, especially during winter when you're in a northern climate. It's awfully nice to be able to get that exercise and not have to worry about slipping. You do still, around the doorways and things like that. If people have been tracking in from parking lots and there's, wet feet or snow dropping off people's boots or something like that, you still have to be really careful in those areas. But hopefully the mall management are conscientious enough to keep an eye on that, make sure there's rugs or something absorbent there to make it a little bit safer in those spaces. But those are all good options. And getting yourself moving, like we say, if you can take a walk, even a short one, but don't walk like to the grocery store and pick yourself up a great big carton of ice cream and, find a table and eat that and then walk home. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. You want to walk?
Sounds fun, though.
It does sound fun, and you would really love to do that if we could. And maybe once in a while do it, maybe once a week. If you've done your walking every day of the week, on the 7th outing, you can have some ice cream. You can't have a whole great big, quart of ice cream, but you can have some ice cream as a little reward for your diligence, and it won't hurt you a bit. But if you do it every time you take a walk, you might find that instead of, health benefits, that you're actually gaining weight, and it's harder for you to get out of a chair or something like that. So you want to, be very disciplined, and it is pleasurable. It truly is. And we always do feel better after we have taken a walk. So any movement at all is good, but the walk is especially nice, and you meet people. Sometimes if you take the same walk or the same, and
it's not just your physical body that benefits. There's a lot of science out there about moving your body and helping your mind. In fact, there's a book, something similar to that title. And it's quite fascinating. This is hard science and research here. And it makes a huge difference, like I say, not just for your muscles or your aerobic health, but also your mental outlook.
Yes, you'll sleep better, usually. It may not happen the very first time you go out on your adventure, but after a while, if you are pretty consistent with how you're doing it, at what time of day. I don't advise it late at night. I think that there's unnecessary risks involved with that. I don't advise people to take solitary walks late at night. I don't think that's a good idea for anybody. I believe that if you can do it in the daytime, maybe right after supper or right before you have your meal, something like that, I do believe that you will feel more rested, or more like you need rest when you get in bed. And
generally, as I understand it anyway, you should exercise before you eat a meal and not after.
Well, yeah, because then you're using up the nutrients that you just got. So it's better if you can hang on to that for a while. And again, portion control.
Plus, you're diverting your blood flow away from the digestion process if you're exercising after you have food in there. So that might give you some digestion problems if you're not resting. The rest and digest thing of the parasympathetic nervous system means just that. When you're digesting, you have to kind of rest. You can't be running around or exercising or anything.
Right. However, I do not think it's a good idea to eat in your bedroom. I think you should. If you kind of establish some rules around how you eat as well as well you eat. Yeah, but...
Don't eat crackers in bed.
Yeah, that was always the big joke, wasn't it? But no, I think that that becomes kind of a bad habit. And so if you make yourself go and sit at the table or at the very least with a tray. If you're watching a show or something like that, especially if you live alone, it's very nice to be able to maybe turn on the TV and you don't feel quite as alone. But I think people should draw the line about eating in their bedroom. I think that room should be reserved for sleep, not doing your work, your computer work or anything like that. Just maybe some late night light surfing, but nothing that's heavy duty research or associated with your career or your work or something or your homework. Frankly, those should be done at a desk.
Did you
that there's
find
a clear
way to
vision.
turn off your blue on your screen?
What blue on what?
A lot of the devices have the ability to filter some of the blue light out of your screen, so it helps your eyes.
How would I know how to do that? I'll give it to you. You can see. No, I just turn it right off. I charge mine overnight, and so usually I put that away. Actually, I put it mostly where I can't just pick it up in the night. If maybe I wake up a little bit, not every night do people sleep, straight through from whenever they went to bed until it's, wake up time in the morning. But if I have to get out of bed to go and pick up my phone, I'm far less likely to get involved in, any kind of heavy usage of it. So I leave it plugged in away from my bed. And except there are nights, I will say there are nights, if I need to keep track of somebody who's sick or I'm expecting some other news and I don't mean like TV news or radio news, something like that. No, I mean personal news from somebody I'm waiting for the birth of a baby or a report from the ER when a family member is sick, something like that. I keep the phone near me, but otherwise just generally no, I keep it away. And so that's, I think, helps me so that I don't fall into the habit of sort of waking up in the middle of the night and then spending time on the phone instead of going back to sleep. So
yeah, time to wake you up. Yeah, one way you could probably do that would be an audiobook, so you're not actually looking at anything, just listening.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are using those now to help themselves transition from wakeful, busy state to a restful state. And so they can drop off to sleep. It works just like it does with kids. I think there's a certain cadence to the human voice as, text is being read and the story develops.
Be very soothing, actually. And sometimes when I'm choosing an audiobook, I'll go by the narrator's voice, usually female, I prefer. And I've actually been known to buy a book that had little or no interest in the subject, but the voice was so nice that it was soothing. It didn't matter.
And it puts you to sleep. Yeah. That's nice. That's a good thing to do. I'm not a big consumer of audiobooks at night. Normally, I just fall right asleep. If I don't fall right asleep, it's because I'm wrestling with some kind of a decision or something like that comes up. But for the most part, that's a good thing. Speaking of being on the computers, we took a look at the NIH news. It's a newsletter kind of thing.
I'd like to start doing more of that and, balance it. When we were doing the news for a while, but now, thankfully, we're kind of out of that sphere a little bit. And, stuff from science and health and all that sort of thing, all the new stuff coming out. Very interesting.
It is very interesting, and I also think it's really important to check in with the NIH websites and that because there have been so many cuts, and people are justifiably very nervous about what does that mean for my ongoing care and what kind of an interruption am I going to experience if there are sharp cuts to some program I was depending on for my medicine or my treatments or some other health-related arrangement. So we have to look at that. Not all of that has been settled.
I'm also especially interested in the branch in the NIH called the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Medicine, which is some, like herbs and meditation and acupuncture and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh,
So I'll keep an eye on that too.
yeah. It's well worth looking into that. I see now. I don't know whether all of the what do you call them?
Copyrighted.
Well, those are the characters that they use now. It kind of looks like a graphic novel, the newsletter
The
kind of thing.
newsletter one, yeah.
It's called News in Health, NIH News in Health, and they've got like a little blue banner on there, and it's NIH.gov.
What do you see there today?
Well, medical robots to the rescue, new technologies to help our health. Dave, would you like to be operated on by a robot?
I don't know. It depends on how it looks, maybe. Like from movies and stuff, a lot of the robots are kind of sinister.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. No, really, just a robot, just something that looks like something out of the Jetsons.
If it looks kind of fluffy and that it'll do you no harm, then maybe.
You don't want one that looks like a giant ant or something?
Something from H.G. Wells or whatever, no.
Yeah.
No, I would resist that one, but, No, it is interesting. Go ahead. What else do you see there?
Okay, so that's one of the things. And just a quick perusal of that, it looks like maybe that will be something that would help with ongoing care, like having a robotic way to move a wheelchair so that people could be a little more mobile and have a little more autonomy with that. If you had a robot that was going to be maybe helping you maneuver a wheelchair in through a doorway that's a bit narrow or convoluted or something, I think that would be an excellent thing. I really do.
Some of the chairs already have that kind of technology within them, I think.
Well, this is one of the things they're saying. And for elder care, that sort of thing. But I don't know about that because certainly child care, elder care, especially with dementia patients, they can be very obstinate. And I can't imagine a robot having the kind of sensitivity I would want my loved ones to be met with if they were a bit troublesome when it came time to, let's say, take a shower or have your hair washed or go to dinner when they didn't want to, or some other such thing. Maybe take a walk or exercise. I can't imagine the robots being able to respond in anything but a clinical way. So I'm wondering how that would work. And so,
it depends on how they program them. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of it's still in development. That's what they're talking about. And they say that the robots have a sensor that can detect things like light, motion, heat, or sound. They have an actuator that converts energy into movement. And they have a control system or a computer program that directs the robot's activities. Many robots today also depend on artificial intelligence, that's AI, we've all heard about it, to assess large amounts of data. Now, I would say, if they're talking about like a humanoid type robot, I can't really envision that too much. But
got another alarm going off there.
Yeah, I do.
Well, maybe we're talking too long. Who knows? I think we mentioned this in a previous one, though, about Rosie from the Jetsons.
Yeah,
it was funny because it was fairly within the last year or two. There was some article or write-up about the fact that, despite all the advances that we have had in robot technology, that we still don't have a Rosie. Because if you think back to all the things that she did, we're not there yet.
No, because I do the things that Rosie did. And my sisters and, most of us women are still doing the jobs that Rosie was doing.
Like
That's
the counselor,
why it
too.
hasn't been a priority.
No, she was a counselor, and she,
we do that.
It wasn't just the dishes and all that. It was, a really wide range of things that she was able to do.
Yeah. No, I think for a lot of those domestic, well, look at what are those vacuum cleaner scooter things? They look like a disc on the floor. What are those?
Oh, the autonomous vacuum cleaner?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's kind
cool.
of a robot.
They're there to scare the pets.
I love the videos. Sometimes online you see videos of some pet who climbs on top of them and goes for a ride around the room, or a baby that does that. They conquer their fear enough to take advantage of the fun that one of those robot vacuum cleaners could be. I really like that. But I do think, a lot of household chores might be able to be done by robots. But at the end of the day, you have to charge them up, I'm sure, and you have to fix them when stuff goes wrong, and stuff's going to go wrong because if you're
just get other robots.
A dish doing robot, oh yeah, I'm sure they'll be just cheap
keep
and throwaway.
Stacking up layers of robots that fix the ones before them. Until you finally get down to a person.
Yeah,
eventually.
Some poor person that has to, fix all the robots. No, that's the thing with me. Maybe that means that I'm really, really cynical.
Does that article get into the surgical robots and all that, or is it just the common help?
Robotic
aid?
Surgeries usually involve making little openings through the skin and then inserting small 3D cameras and surgical tools. The teams developing these miniature robots and robotic techniques to assist with complex surgeries. They're creating soft robotic devices made of flexible and compliant materials. These flexible gadgets are helping to improve a type of brain surgery for weakened and bulging brain blood vessels called aneurysms. Now that would work. Anything like that where you've got the camera on it, we're not thinking about rosy robots doing these. We're thinking about really micro programmable tools. Yeah. And I think when we say robots, that's really deceiving, isn't it? Because really what we're talking about is a programmed tool that you or maybe it is AI that reads the data out that's being transmitted back from those little cameras and then makes the decisions about, how the therapy will proceed. But that, like with brain surgery and things like that, how fantastic is that?
Yeah, that would be a lot less room for human error, definitely.
Oh, yeah. And I like the idea that it's just small puncture holes. They don't really need to crack you open. I have a friend that always, if he's talking about surgeries, he always talks about people being cracked open. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, could you not?
Well, it's kind of the way it was, though.
It hasn't progressed all that much. And so, if it just involves like a little puncture and they insert these tools and then they're looking at a screen rather than, having you opened up like that. Think how much cleaner that is too. How much less time it's going to take to heal up from those kinds of surgeries. That's nothing to be sniffed at, I don't think. And I know hospital settings, they've had an awful hard time with superbug, viruses and bacterias and that in those theaters, that I think that this would also be a lot better if it wasn't such a massive wound to open somebody up and do those things. So that's all good.
Yeah, it keeps the trauma down quite low.
Plus the databases, every time they would do something like that, if it's fed into a large centralized database so that every surgery wasn't a unique event, it was part of a chain of events, and each unique thing that the surgeons encounter gets automatically logged with, the tool itself is doing the logging. So whether they're thorough in their after, homework, I'll call it, filling out the paperwork and making sure that they're all up to date with the recording and the research and all the other data that needs to be shared, then I would think that that's much better to just have it in real time happening. So, these devices, not rosy type devices, but small micro things, that's a fantastic advancement.
Nanobots, watch out.
Nanobots, yeah. They made us kind of afraid of those.
Yeah, and the guy that was proliferating the idea that their birds are not real, they're all bots.
What?
Yeah.
Did I hear that?
Yeah. He finally admitted that it was a big hoax, but it really garnered a huge following for a while. I have no idea why, but...
Oh, my goodness. Well, people now are always on the lookout for a hoax. People think everything is a hoax, and people have to second guess everything. The NIH website. I mean, now just last week, and I don't want to divert too much to this, but the NIH, or the Health and Human Services, put out some data to support an initiative that they were having, and apparently it got goofed up, and it cited scientists who had nothing to do with that report, and it was relying on data that had not been vetted properly, and that breeds
I wonder
distrust.
if that was an AI-generated report, like a lot of people use AI to write documents and so on.
I can't speak to that, but I'll tell you what, there is somebody
who did that, and it wasn't a robot. I would certainly blame AI if I...
Well, we shouldn't be able to blame AI. AI is a tool. You don't blame your hammer if you crack a hole in your wall, or if you miss the stud when you're putting in a screw to hang a picture from, or putting in a nail to hang the picture from. If you miss it, guess whose fault it is? Yours, because you weren't using the tools properly and you made a mistake. Okay, human beings make mistakes, but if you're putting out those kinds of reports, they got caught with that. Now, I'm not saying that it was done deliberately, but I'm saying it got past the firewall where it was put out and it was false. It was demonstrably false. And so if you want people to take a website like the NIH website seriously and be able to make good healthcare decisions about it, then you have to be fastidious. And you have to hold yourself, whoever is in charge, whoever is working for those things, has to be above reproach in their job performance. It's not okay. It's not like saying, that you...
So you can't just pick one of your friends off the street to do that?
No. It's best. Let's look for the people that have
That's
the
what seems to be
credentials.
happening, though.
Yeah, there's too many people that are rookies. We need people in jobs that they have background for. It's nice to be nice to your friends. Be nice to your friends. Have them over to your house for a party. Hang their picture in your living room, whatever you want to do. But don't put them in critical positions. And a lot of people rely on the NIH, on the Department of Health for correct, scientifically proven information that is generally accepted the rest of the world, by the rest of the world. And I think that's a good test, because now, after 3 or 4 times of information being disseminated that's questionable or flat out wrong, then that means that you have to do extra homework and you have to double check what you're reading with how do other countries view this type of thing, and then make up your own mind after you've gotten additional information, which is always a good idea, and we always say that here on this podcast. So the NIH newsletter is useful. Keep in mind that you do need to check it, against other sources of information, and also understand that all the cuts that have been made, all the Doge cuts, all the other cuts to traditional programs and projects and that the dust hasn't settled from those. So we cannot say definitively, what is ongoing and what isn't. So just go right to it. If you have a computer, it's easy to do. And it is interesting. There's a lot of interesting and useful information on there. And it's free. You don't have to, I don't know if you're supposed to sign up for anything. I didn't.
No, only if you want email alerts and newsletters and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it might be useful. It might be useful for people to go ahead and sign up. I refrain from signing up usually because I don't like all the cookies and stuff. And my phone plan is a very modest one. And I'm just always worried that I'm going to get choked up with a lot of junk mail on my phone. And I don't want that. And so I keep so many photographs on my phone that I'm always up against storage limits all the time. So, but I refuse to, commit to some great big phone plan because I would rather spend my money on other things like travel,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. See, we do agree.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. We do feel better because we got out. This is a useful tool
That's
that
true.
we're talking
We're
about.
not just saying that. It was very helpful to take that walk.
I feel hungrier, do you?
So I'm starving. I'm almost ready to eat the windscreen here. If it smelled better.
Oh, the windscreen looks like a giant powder puff,
Yeah.
or like one of those. No, not quite one of those troll dolls. Remember those Beetle dolls where they had kind of fuzzy hair?
You mean the band?
Yeah, the Beetle band. They were little dolls that they put out, and they all had kind of mop heads.
Yeah.
That's what these microphone covers look like. So you don't pop your peas. How is that?
They work.
Yeah. Yeah, but they tickle you, kind of.
Could be fun. In this case, it's not.
No, I wouldn't say. On our walk today, we passed by a gigantic cactus out there, and it is absolutely loaded with cactus flowers. And so I'm going to go out probably after supper and try to get some pictures. I might wait until morning because they look like they're not quite fully bloomed. But oh my goodness, is that a beautiful thing?
It is gorgeous, actually, and something you are not used to seeing from where we're from.
No, that's right.
And you can eat, not the spines, I guess, right? But you can eat that. And what about the flowers, though? Have they got any use other than being pretty?
I don't know. You know what? I'm a chicken about messing with that cactus. It's really big. One time, a friend of ours came here, and we tried to make Napolitos. We just cut off a branch.
I remember that now.
And we pulled the needles out, and we had just a little piece of the cactus. But boy, oh boy, did we have to be careful with that, both of us. And I think we spent more time laughing. And I don't recall that I was knocked out by the taste of the...
No, I think overall everybody thumbs down on that. But, maybe we didn't know what we were doing in terms of preparing it and cooking it.
No, I think that was it. Anyway, we're coming up again on our time. I'll try to take that photograph so that you get to see that. That's especially beautiful. Also beautiful here, there's a lot of poppies, wild ones that are growing, and the thistles are growing too. And a lot of the little birds like the thistle seed, so I'm happy to see them because I do enjoy the bird songs, out in the trees. There's a lot of olive trees around us too. So those are all pretty. I'll maybe try to get a couple of pictures of that so you get a sense for how beautiful it is and how lucky and blessed we are to be here. And I wish you could be here too, and maybe someday you will be. Maybe not with us, probably not with us, but on your own. I hope that happens. Anyway, talk to you tomorrow.